I was the Minister for Interior for about 5 years, and I dealt with the security sector in the country. I understand the security sector like the back of my hand. Let me begin by saying this. It's very simple. Discipline is destiny. In cases where you do not have discipline, whatever levels of society that indiscipline permeates, you will not have a secure society. And secondly, I think everyone knows this is a fact. I don't need to repeat this, and I don't need to sound like I'm being negative, but this is the fact of life. The character of government takes after its leader. It is the leaders of the country who have decided what kind of government they want to run. Do they want to run a clean government and a secure country, or they want to run a chaotic country? The challenges we have now are not beyond solution. I mean, they can be solved. I can tell you for a fact that the level of indiscipline in the security sector related to the over-politicization of security management is what has led to this point. The gangs that exist across villages cannot exist without the awareness of government. You cannot tell me, and I hope all of you do not, me being very blunt, understand the security architecture of the country, from the county security team that is usually led by the county commissioner to the sub-county security team or the district security teams we have down there, the regional security teams, all the way to the National Security Advisory Committee and the National Security Council, which is chaired by the president. Our capacity, and I want to confirm to you, and then this is fact, our capacity as a country in the security sector is such that we should not be having any of those incidents. In other words, those incidents are happening because they are being tolerated. We have capacity in this country to be peaceful, to ensure that we go about our activity without a problem. Those things that you are seeing, the goons that you are seeing running around and so on, it is, as I said, the over-politicization of the security sector. It has nothing to do with failure or lack of capacity. I know most of the leaders of the security infrastructure in the country. I worked with them. I know some of these people very well. Kanja, who is the current Inspector General of Police, was the GSU commandant for the entire time I was Minister for Interior, and I worked with him. He's the officer who led our theater industry too. I know very well the DCI. I know Nurdin, the Director General of the National Intelligence Service. We worked with him. He was the DPP. And I know their capacity. It's not a question of capacity. It's a question of over-politicization of the security sector. And I understand all these people work. They're all fine Kenyans who want to do a good job. But I think some of them probably are just stressed out by the politics of the day. And the politics of the day that's trying to provide cover to crime and criminal conduct. You can't tell me, for example, that the regional security team in central Kenya did not know that there were goons who are going to disturb the meeting in Kikuyu. If that was the case, and if I was the Minister for Interior, I would insist that that person be sacked. And it's not true. They know it is not true. The problem with our security sector is not capacity, period. It's not that we can't deal with these issues. We can. It is because of political accountability that is very low, and the politicization of our security operations. And unless and until discipline, firmness, seriousness is brought about in the way in which we manage the security of the country, those incidents will not come to an end. Just tell me, how on earth will you give Kenyan passports to criminals from RSF and those kinds of people? Do you want to tell me that is accidental? It's done conscientiously. There are people in those offices who are doing those things, who are being bribed, and they are doing those things. So reducing the level of accountability in the security sector and introducing a very high level of impunity in the security sector is what is going to destroy the country. And what our leaders in the security sector need to understand is this. Haiti did not start in one day. It started like this, where vigilante groups, informal gangs are moving around with the acquiescence and support of the government. Our capacity, I know our capacity. Let me give you an example. When I was Minister for Interior, one evening, actually one morning, early morning, around 3 o'clock in the morning, the president called me and told me he has learned from some of his friends that a chief's house has been burnt in Molo. I was in Molo at 7:20 in the morning. And when I got there, I was with the regional commissioner for Rift Valley. I was there with the regional police commander, Mr. Mboya, and the entire team. Before 9 in the morning, we had gotten to the bottom of everything and decisions that had been taken. So you cannot tell me that the same security infrastructure that we had is not capable of knowing who beat Ososi on the streets of Kisumu, or that there are gangs that exist in Kisumu. They are paid by people who are known. So the question is, we have to fix our politics. And this is the point at which I tell Kenyans, the decision is in our hands. It's upon us to decide what kind of country we want. If we want this kind of country, then we can continue engaging in PR. But if we want a different country, I keep saying I'm the real change candidate. I am interested in shaking the establishment to its bone marrow. To stop this kind of nonsense that we are seeing, 6 decades after independence, you cannot have goons walking side by side with police officers. And then they are not arrested. We've had by-elections across the country where, some funny masked people walk in and beat people and walk away. It is not because the police don't have the capacity. I can confirm to you, as a former Minister of Interior, we have sufficient capacity in our country to keep the country safe, to police the country safely without a problem. Those things are happening because A, deliberate dereliction of duty, B, incompetence in terms of the management, and C, mostly the politicization of the security sector. When we had a problem of pickpocketing and muggings in Nairobi, one of the time when it reared its ugly head in 2018 after the general elections, we all agreed, and the senior police officers who were on duty know what we did. We even trained an all-women commando unit, deployed them in supermarkets, in plain clothes and so on, highly trained police officers who are able to detect criminals, arrest them, and process them through the law. And then people have confidence to go on and do their work. So you asked me what I would do if I was president. I mean, this kind of nonsense cannot happen under my watch. I can't. You can't. How? Because this is 6 decades. We are not then simple, small, little village country. We are a serious country. To see people, armed people, goons, walking into a meeting, and the police officers are watching, and it's unbearable to me, as somebody who understands the security of the country. What are we doing to our country? And you see what friends of ours in government don't understand is this. Violence begets even more violence. When those thugs are done beating your opponents, they will need to beat someone else and to continue eating. You are riding on a tiger. They are the ones who are going to come to your houses and burn your houses and burn your families. In other words, when security is firm, clean, and well managed, it works for all of us, opposition or government. Just now in Kajiado, I was telling the public that, in the security sector, there's something we have in the internal security sector called the threat profile, that we deploy and spend our resources on the basis of the threats that we have in the country and what we need to do. A politician who's going to talk to people is not a threat. That's what they are paid to do. Politicians are paid to talk. So why would I deploy police officers to follow a politician? Or why would I disrupt a politician's meeting? One time, a senior politician in the country, while I was Minister for Interior, was going to have a meeting in Murang'a. My colleague P.S. Kibicho and I learned the police officers called us and one senior administrator to say, oh, by the way, so-and-so is coming here tomorrow. We have been told that we make sure the meeting does not happen. We said, we asked him, who told you? And so-and-so called me. We told him, listen very carefully, unless you want to be sacked, you follow the chain of command as it is. No one has told you from the police or from Harambe House to interfere with that meeting. Secondly, just use your basic common sense. When that politician comes to Murang'a tomorrow and addresses the meeting, is he going to eat Murang'a and go away with it? Whoever else wants to address Murang'a will find it there intact. He will go back there and address the same Murang'a. So why would you go beating people, causing problems and so on because a politician you don't like has gone to Murang'a? Those ones who have called you and told you to interfere with the meeting, tell them to go to Murang'a the following day after that politician has left so that they do their own address. So the truth of the matter is that in my view, my dear friends, we have to be sure that we have a country. I was the Minister for Interior when Raila Odinga, the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga, held a swearing-in ceremony at Hurupa. when everybody was saying, oh, it should not happen, and so we said, what is going to happen? I mean, he will go there. If Raila understands the country, understands the law, he's not going to engage in treason. Let's watch and see. And if one bullet had been shot at Uhuru Park during that experience, we will have lost a lot of lives. Not a single bullet was shot. Ask all my colleagues who were in the National Security Advisory Committee, the National Security Council. We spent the whole day in the control room having discussions with people and saying there's a limit to the things you can do to your citizens. So my answer is very simple. It goes back to what I said earlier. Discipline is destiny. We have to choose to be a disciplined people. And people who love their country enough to know that we also chose multi-party democracy. We're going to have more voices and more people expressing themselves on the affairs of the country. We have to run our country effectively. That one is no choice. And the foremost responsibility, constitutional responsibility of the president